realize we've had a few hours to try to make sense of this, and it still makes no damn sense at all. Yours is a very tightly knit brotherhood in the NBA, and as you all around that game tried to process this throughout this Sunday afternoon, how do you describe what the emotions were that you and your friends were sharing?
Well, devastating. Initially, Scott, I can't lie, when the TMZ information was initially reported, I promised myself I wasn't going to text anybody, email, call anybody to see if it was true. I was really just in a state of shock because I just came from Philadelphia celebrating LeBron James as he passed one Kobe Bryant in his hometown of Philadelphia on the all-time NBA scoring list. I was fortunate enough to play against him in the NBA Finals. I covered each time as a member of the media he made it to the NBA Finals. Played against him for a lot of years. Happily will be a stepping stone, a footnote, the nail to his hammer when he scored 81 points versus our Toronto Raptors team. There's no accident that he has two numbers, retired at the Staples Center, and for a guy to score 60 points in his final game and then seem to ride off in the sunset and a handful of years later win an Academy Award. He's coaching his daughter's basketball team. She was on the plane with him, Scott, 13 years old. My heart just breaks thinking about the fact that his wife, Vanessa, now all of a sudden have 3 daughters, and she lost her husband and her oldest daughter. Like, it's just really devastating news, and it's so very sad to deal with.
What was it about him as a competitor that separated him, Jalen, from others?
When we say compete tirelessly, that's what he represented. Bring it every practice. Outwork your opponent. Bring it every game. That's what he did. And if you ask any person affiliated with the league, that was not phony. That was legitimate. And that's why he's an iconic all-time great on and off the floor.
I'm struck by this, Jalen. I went back and looked through a text when he turned 40. I sent him, and I said, hey, when you hit the other side of 50, let me know how you feel then, okay? And we were joking, obviously, about the passing of time. And obviously, sadly, tragically, he won't reach that point. But like you, a guy who we knew as a teenager, right, who lived his professional life in front of us in the NBA, you graduated to new chapters in life. You turn over new leaves. You become a new man. What was your sense, Jalen, of who he was becoming after basketball?
The basketball accolades are great. He's a Hall of Fame basketball player that we won't get a chance to see him physically inducted with Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan. But for a guy that now retires and goes into the second chapter, and you see him front row with his daughter, Scott, laughing and joking the WNBA games and the NBA games and coaching her. And people were like, hey, Kobe, you need to have a son. You need somebody that's going to carry on the legacy. And his daughter, Gigi, was like, that's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
I'm standing right here to do that. She was ready to carry the baton. And I know his 3 younger daughters in life beyond and or with sports are going to be ready to do the exact same thing.
It's crushing, man. There's not enough time to sort it all out. And there's, in time, hopefully some sense is made. But I like you, echo those thoughts. We just send love and strength to the families that are impacted. Jalen, I appreciate your time tonight, and I appreciate you being on to share your thoughts, man. Thank you.
My pleasure, Scott.
When we continue, one big thing. You do your best in these moments, but sometimes it's just not enough time to figure out how to say what you feel in your heart. 3 titles took to Instagram for the following statement. There are no words to express the pain I'm going through now with this tragic and sad moment of losing my niece Gigi, my friend, my brother, my partner in winning championships, my dude and my homie. I love you, and you will be missed. My condolences goes out to the Bryant family and the families of the other passengers on board. I'm sick right now. Phil Jackson was Kobe's head coach for 11 seasons in Los Angeles, released the following statement. The crash was a tragedy for multiple families. My heart goes out to Vanessa and the families that lost loved ones. Kobe was a chosen one, special in many ways to many people. Our relationship as coach-player transcended the norm. He went beyond the veil. Of course, last night in Philadelphia, LeBron James passed Kobe Bryant on the all-time scoring list, moving up to third. Bryant's father was a 76er for a number of years. Kobe grew up playing in the Philly suburbs, so the moment felt more cosmically appropriate than in a random city with no ties. Kobe Bryant taking to Twitter just last night, tweeting out, "Continuing to move the game forward at King James. Much respect, my brother." After the loss last night in Philly, the Lakers arrived back in California Sunday morning. An emotional scene, as you might imagine. James wiping away tears and sharing a long embrace. On Stephen A., as we see the icon himself, Jerry West, the logo in tears, you understand the gravity and the weight of this. This is a young man that you began to cover as a high schooler, who you saw become a star and a retired and very comfortable, happy man in life. As you try to make sense of it at this late hour, where are you right now with this?
Where everybody else is, complete devastation. To know Kobe the way that a lot of us did, to know his brilliance, to know his intellect, to know his commitment to excellence, and the fact that he wanted to motivate and inspire just a generation of people to be similar, of a similar ilk. To see him gone at the age of 41, knowing that he had so much life ahead of him, it's just devastating. And when you think about it, I mean, he and I were together on New Year's Eve. We were partying together on New Year's Eve, actually. That's the last time I saw him. We were supposed to meet a few weeks from now. He was talking about, you know, a life that was just getting started. So many times we see professional athletes and there is a struggle to try and find, to capture what life is going to be like beyond their playing days. This was an individual that was looking forward to the end, at least a couple of years at the very least, before it had all come to an end, because he was planning and plotting a new path for his life. He wanted to be an inspiration to his wonderful 13-year-old daughter, Gigi, who obviously passed away in a helicopter crash with him. He was telling guys like Jay-Z and others, wait until you see her play. She is something special. Obviously, his other 3 children, he obviously was absolutely in love with. Of course, his wife, Vanessa, he was in love with her. And he was looking forward to a life. He had already captured an Academy Award. And his mentality was, we're just getting started. He was doing Detail, his project for ESPN Plus and beyond. He had so many things that he was planning and looking forward to. And he talked about that with me constantly whenever we talked. And so this was not a guy that was struggling to find what his new path was going to be now that his career had ended after the 2016 season. He had prospered from that point forward. He was on a mission to continue to prosper and to ultimately show that the life that he enjoyed and he endured in those 20 years in a Lakers uniform, it would be something comparable to what he had accomplished as a basketball player. The greatness that you saw on the basketball court was definitely going to be a level of greatness that you saw in some other platform. And in the process of doing all of that, he was going to inspire folks across the world to be all that they could be and to make the sacrifices and to put in whatever effort was necessary to put in order to achieve your goal. It was something he had preached to me personally. It's something that I know he had preached to a number of people. And that's why all of us sit here devastated today, because to be at age 21 as brilliant and as gifted as he was, full of life and so much to live for, and so many people who loved him and appreciated him, to see him gone today is nothing short of devastating. It truly is.
I share that sentiment, and especially, Stephen A., I marveled at the passion that he was investing in the next chapter. So many struggle to figure it out. Not only did he find it, but he was thriving in it. And he looked at people like Magic or MJ as what they became afterwards. He had his sights set on the Jay-Z's and the Oprahs. He'd be a billionaire with a B. And I mean, those paths seemed like they were available to him. He was pouring himself into it. And I think it's just so gutting to think of what might have been. Do you believe that perhaps his best act would have been his next act?
Possibly, quite possibly. It's hard to imagine, considering the fact that he's a 5-time champion, right, and 18-time All-Star and what have you. But what I can tell you as a point of fact is that he believed the best was yet to come. He wasn't somebody that dwelled on the past and said, look at what I accomplished. I'm finished. That wasn't his thing. His attitude was, I've got a whole life to live, so let me go out there and conquer new challenges. That was what it was about. When he saw me on New Year's Eve, he was congratulating me on my new contract with ESPN. His exact words to me is 1 + 1 = 1 billion. That was his mentality to anybody who had any kind of potential. Go for it all. That was what he believed in, and that was what he was all about. He looked at Jay-Z and he told Jay-Z, wait until you see my daughter play basketball. She is something special. And that's why when he came out just days ago and he alluded to how there's about 2 or 3 players that can play in the NBA, it wasn't him speaking in a literal context. It was him sending a message to his daughter. You can achieve whatever you want to achieve. You can achieve whatever you put your mind to. Don't let anybody on this planet Earth think for 1 second that they could hold you back. Don't you allow anybody to hold you back. The world is yours. The sky is the limit. Go for it. And that was the mentality that he had, not just as a basketball player. Remember, he was bilingual. He spoke 3 languages, Italian, Spanish, and English, very, very fluently. He once joked with me that he would be speaking German in short order. These are the kind of things that he talked about, and he didn't see any limitations to his potential whatsoever, and he didn't want anybody around him that saw limitations to themselves. If you came to him and you had limitations in your mind and in your heart, he would immediately and instantly check you and let you know, how dare you put limitations upon yourself. You living, you're breathing, you got all the potential in the world. Go for it. And that was the kind of message that he was hell-bent on sending to his daughters. It was obviously an adage that he followed. He firmly believed in it. He preached it to LeBron and D. Wade and all of those guys when they were in Beijing in the 2008 Olympics and beyond. This is why you see so many people crying and so many people so upset that he's gone, because they know what he did for them. They know what he did for their lives. I was on the phone with Shaquille O'Neal just a few hours ago, and he was crying. Magic Johnson couldn't hold back tears. The list just goes on and on. People are either crying, they're speechless, or they're both, because we know that we lost an iconic figure. And Jerry West, speaking as eloquently as he spoke, with his eyes bloodshot red as they can be, clearly crying a lot today. We all understand where he's coming from, because anybody that knew Kobe Bryant spent some time crying today, including myself.
Stephen A., time's our most precious commodity. We appreciate you sharing some with us. Our hour here, the 2 hours you have on First Take tomorrow, not enough to cover it all, but